Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk about the exponent rules. If we look at x to the fifth times x to the third, they're on the same level. So what we realize is we have x times x times x 5 times here, and then we have x times x times x 3 times here. So what we want to do is we want to combine these for x to the eighth power. Okay, so a lot of times people say, hey, we have to add, but then we got to look at the signs and make sure the signs tell us to either add or subtract. So for example, on this one, it's x to the negative fifth, and we know that means flip and make this positive, but we're just going to try to look at the exponent rules and say, hey, we have x to the negative fifth and x to the third. So what we're going to do is they say add or combine these, but because the signs are different, I have to subtract because I have x to the negative fifth plus 3, which is really x to the negative 2. Then we know it's a negative exponent, so I have to flip it and make the exponent positive. Okay. Now, over here, x to the negative fifth times x to the negative third, we know that that means flip and make it positive, but we don't have to go through all that if we know the exponent rules. We're just going to combine these. Well, the signs are the same, so even if you were to add, you would be adding two negatives that would give you x to the negative eighth power. So we have to know the integer rules as well as the exponent laws. This last one would be x, and I have 5 minus 3. If I want to put a plus there, I can put there, but I'm not really adding them because the signs are different, so it would be x to the second power. So one of the things I want students to realize is if they're on the same level, all we have to do is follow our integer rules and combine those exponents if they have the same base and they're on the same level. Now we notice these down here are on a different level. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to subtract these exponents because I have 5x's on the top, I have 3x's on the bottom. So what I would do is I would take away 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. So I would write it out x, and I would take the top 5, and I would subtract the bottom 3. So that would be x to the second power. These exponent rules, I have to subtract because they're on different levels. So it's going to be this, take away this. So it is x to the negative fifth minus 3. So I'm going to subtract negative 5 and negative 3. So it's going to leave me x to the negative eighth power because those signs are the same. And if they're the same, I add and keep the sign. Now, a lot of students have trouble here because you're subtracting, but you're actually subtracting a negative, right? So I have x to the negative fifth minus a negative 3. So if I take away a negative, it becomes a positive, and now I have to follow the integer rules. Well, the integer rules tell me if the signs are different, I subtract 5 minus 3, and I keep the sign of the larger digit. So it is a negative 2. Same concept over here. You're going to have x, and you're going to subtract 5 minus a negative 3. So 5 minus a negative 3 actually becomes a positive 3. So now this is a positive 5, this is a positive 3, so I have x to the eighth power. As you can see, all of these, the integer rules and the exponent laws are very, very important to understand and avoid confusion.